Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Megan and today we're trying something a little bit different. We are going to do a review of an anime show. So instead of books, which is my typical genre of conversation on this channel, we are doing a review of season 1 of Attack on Titan. Yeah, I can barely contain how much I love this show. You can probably already tell from my attire how much I enjoyed this show. I went and bought attire specifically for this video, also specifically because I'm in love with this show. That being said, I do have some critiques that I will be sharing later, but without further ado, let's jump into this review. Anime is not a genre of show that I have particularly previously been into. However, thanks to my friend Caitlin, I found some anime that I am super into, and I've recently gotten really into anime and really into manga, and Attack on Titan just happens to be the first anime that has inspired such a reaction out of me. So I'm very excited to chat with you guys about my thoughts on Attack on Titan. I am going to be doing a review of this show, as well as a review of the manga, as well as a review of how to tangentially read / watch the series and maybe the differences between the two. I plan to do a whole series on this. Maybe I'll do a ranking the Attack on Titan characters, and I do want to do a cosplay of some of these characters, so maybe I'll take you on that journey. There are a ton of things I want to bring to this channel, and this is just the first one. If you aren't familiar with Attack on Titan, it released in the US, I believe, in 2013. You can watch it on Netflix, at least the first season if you're in the United States, and the first season is 25 episodes. The episodes are roughly 24 minutes in length, and then if you take out the intro song and the end credits, they end up being around 20 minutes each. So I powered through this entire first season in roughly 24 hours or less. I did watch 2 episodes prior to my day-long binge, but then I watched the rest of the 23 episodes in a singular day. I'm obsessed. And Attack on Titan is kind of a dystopian world. It's set in the year 845, but being that this is a animated fantasy show, I'm not sure if that is 845 in the past or in the future, or if it's even on Earth. However, what I really love about it is that it brings me back to my middle school days when I was super obsessed with dystopian books such as The Hunger Games or Divergent or those type of books, and I've recently gotten back into those with The Selection and Four Dead Queens and Scythe and Renegades, and just this morally gray, everything is wrong with society, some sort of epidemic or pandemic or natural disaster has happened and people are fighting for their lives. I don't know why that appeals to me, but it appeals to me for some reason. It's just a fascinating genre / storyline, and it definitely gives me the same feeling I felt when I was in the Hunger Games and that kind of thing. Not necessarily that it's the same type of story, but just the feeling I got reading those is the feeling I got watching this. It's also kind of horror. It does have a lot of gore, so be forewarned about that, but there's also a mystery element as well, which we will discuss later on. I did want to mention this first part is going to be non-spoiler, so you can watch without being worried about me saying something, but then later on in the video, and I will make sure to throw something up on the screen and mention it before I go into spoilers, but I do want to talk about some of the things that happen in season 1. So in this dystopian world, the last remaining humans have formed a barrier system from what are known as Titans. Titans are a class of humanoid monsters that are larger than life, larger than humans. Humans are if this was a human, this is a Titan kind of thing. Titans are eerie in that they have these faces that look kind of normal, I guess you could say, like humanoid, normal. They look like men, but the faces are like permanently etched into like creepy grins or creepy faces, or just faces that would haunt you in your nightmares, I guess you could say. They're not necessarily scary, but it's almost worse that they're not scary and then these horrible things happen. So like, for example, one of them would be walking around like, and they've just got these like creepy like lumbering walks and grins, and they're almost like giant toddlers that eat people. I don't know how to describe it better, but it's like taking something that doesn't seem scary and then making it horrifying, and I think they do this really well in this world. What we know about these titans is that they are not in need of like food or humans for sustenance or to live. They truly just eat people to kill them and to have fun. I don't know the entire motivation behind it, but it's not out of like survival need, which is terrifying as well. It would be one thing to just be like bottom of the food chain, but it's another that these titans are just doing it for the heck of it. The other thing is that they can only be killed by hitting a certain spot on their bodies. They are unclothed, so they walk around just naked all day long, and they're some abnormals, which is a plot line they kind of get into, and I'm not gonna go too far into it here. Then we have our humans. So the humans, these titans just randomly appeared and kind of wiped out part of the human race. The last remains of the human race are within these confined 3 walls. So there's Wall Maria, Wall Rose, and Wall Cena, and there's like a huge outer wall, and then there's a bunch of land and people, and then there's a mid wall and land and people, and then a center wall and people. And I believe it's based on like a hierarchy system through like socioeconomic class. So I think like the richer or more prestigious your title, the further in you are. And then they also have like subsections of these walls with little cities built into them. And this is the way they've structured this defense against the titans. For 100 years, this defense has worked. The walls are sort of indestructible, and the titans are only 15 meters tall at the tallest, and then the walls are 50 meters tall. So 1-5 versus 5-0. So they've never really had an issue against the titans. Things have been kind of lackadaisical for years on end. Even Aaron, our main character, in the very beginning of the first episode is like, hey, shouldn't we like prepare in case the titans come? And the soldiers are like, nah, nothing's come around for 100 years, like who cares, why do we need to prepare, like nothing's gonna happen, obviously the walls are working, we're good. Until roughly like 15 minutes later, a titan known as the Colossal that has never been seen before appears, and he is 60 meters tall and breaks through the outer wall and lets a horde of titans in, and we just jump right into things. So that's kind of like the last spoiler, even though it's not a spoiler, it happens in like the first 10 minutes that I'll talk about in this section. So we jump right into the action. The pacing is like snapping, everything happens within the first episode, and we set up the plot right away. We know the stakes, we know exactly what we're fighting for right away, and it makes you want to keep watching right from the get-go. A lot of first episodes are fun and they set up the storyline, but I've never had one suck me in so quickly and so hard right away. Also, the wall, I did want to mention, I've only watched one episode of Game of Thrones, but it gives me the same vibe as like the Game of Thrones wall. So we're keeping out the Titan White Walkers. I did watch this series. I watched the first 2 episodes in sub, and then because I was watching with my friend Caitlin, so she had a different streaming service than me, and then I switched to Netflix, which only has it in dub, or at least that's how I watched it on Netflix. And I didn't mind or like prefer strongly either. I'm just getting into anime, so I'm still getting used to sub. But the dub never bothered me. I know it bothers a lot of people. There is one thing I will touch on in the spoiler section that bothered me in the dub, but I don't know if that's a dub thing or just a script thing, so we'll touch on that later. And then lastly, within this setup, we have the different hierarchies of soldiers. We have the military police, which are kind of the police that patrol the inner realm, and then we have the scouts outside of the walls and kind of watch for titans and are on the front lines of battle, and they're a lot of fun. And our soldiers are fighting with these they're not like jetpacks, but like sort of, they're jetpack grappling hook rope flying machine things. They use their belts to adjust how they move. They fly around and kind of look like some cross between Spider-Man and Doc Ock. I find that system of weaponry and transportation for the soldiers really awesome. It's definitely a lot different than anything I've seen in other media, and I want to learn how to use it. And then they also have these blades that can cut through Titan skin, because I don't think like regular weapons can cut through Titan skin. I think you have to have this specific type of blade, and they are like disposable almost. So like once one's used up, then they just whip out another one, and they have these boxes that are almost like industrial quivers on their sides that they just like hit a button and it chucks the old ones off, and then they slam and like grab new ones. The whole system of weaponry is fascinating and is a whole like video I could probably do in itself. Now to do a quick like non-spoiler thing on my views of the characters. Our main character is Aaron. He is a very angry boy. His whole character is just driven by vengeance and anger, and it makes him kind of one-dimensional in ways, but also interesting at the same time, because he does have like a good character arc, I feel. And then we have Mikasa, who is presented as like his adopted sister, and her entire drive is just like being near and saving Eren at all costs. Armin is Eren and Mikasa's close friend from childhood. Eren and Armin are like dead set that they want to go outside the walls and explore the world beyond the walls. So that's also a driving motivation for them. Armin is also known as like the genius nerdy friend of the group and kind of a coward. Jean is your typical bad boy turns good character. Hanji is our non-binary scientist with a lot of flair and fun scenes. Sasha is also a really fun comedic character. Levi is probably my personal favorite, but I think he's like a lot of people's personal favorite. I'm just always drawn to like the angsty, mysterious. He's not even a bad boy, he's like a good person, but like that angsty, mysterious character. Erwin is the like Captain America type character that leads the scouts. So the characters are a lot of fun. There's way more than just these ones. These are just the ones I wanted to like touch base on. But they are all so much fun, and I really want to cosplay some of these characters, as well as Krista specifically is one I'd like to cosplay. Also, two very quick last things before I jump into the spoiler section. I did want to mention very quickly that the art / animation is incredible. Some of the best art I think I've ever seen in a show. My only like complaint with the art is that at random points it turns from like still photos to like moving to CGI type animation. I feel like the animation fluctuates a little bit throughout scenes, but otherwise the animation is incredible. Huge props to those animators. And then also the intro song is a bop. Like, I love it so much. It's so good. So yeah, now I'm gonna jump into the spoiler section, kind of touch base on like what specifically I liked, what specifically I didn't like. The like specific spoilers I want to chat about, and then also the predictions I have for season 2. I'm planning to probably catch up to where the series is currently released by probably this weekend, because I'm that invested in this story. I do know, I think that the final episode of the series is set to release like April 4th, April 3rd, one of those. It's coming out very soon, so I'd like to be caught up by then. I think it would be really interesting to do like a final reaction. So yeah, this is now moving on to the spoiler section. So if you have not finished season 1, step away now, close out of the video. Whatever you need to do to like get away. I'll even put a thing here that says that we're moving on to spoilers. But yeah, this was your last chance to get out before spoilers. Okay, let's go into specifically what I liked. I love the pacing and action, which I touched on earlier, and I love that there is consequences. I feel like a lot of times in books and media and movies and shows, characters just get lucky or get away with things just because they're the main character or because it like helps move the plot forward. But I love the consequences that are built into this world. Like, if you use up all your gas in your gear, it's gonna have the consequence of you literally can't move around. Like, you've run out of gas, you've run out of blades. There isn't just a magic thing that works all the time, all day long. There is, you have to be strategic in how you use your equipment. And I think the name of the game with the show is that don't get attached to anyone, because even if they build up this character to be super awesome with the backstory and everything, there's still a possibility they could kill him off. I mean, I really enjoyed the consequences, the like not holding punches type storytelling within this world. I also really enjoyed learning about like the battle strategies, specifically like Erwin's patrol force as they were like going out to scout, and the different colors of the smoke to indicate like what was happening. I thought that was really complex and interesting to learn about, and I'd love to see more of that type of stuff in the following seasons. And then I also just really loved the concept of the fact that teens are primarily the ones doing the fighting. I think it can really parallel with kind of how we are today in like today's society, how teens are kind of the ones coming up through the ranks and like learning about social issues and being the ones that are about to start voting. I think it kind of parallels well, because these teens, like, their parents had it way better than them in certain aspects, like the safety and that sort of thing, and to see teens take charge of their own lives to better like humanity's chances and survival and like just lives, I think was a really interesting and fun concept. Things I didn't like, and I think that a lot of reviews I've seen have said this, but like they would be in the midst of battle, about to plunge their weapon into the neck, and then it still frames into a monologue. I did feel a little bit jolted out of those like attack scenes or situations, but I am a little bit used to it because I'm a theater major, so monologues are just part of life in theater. But I do feel like it would have been more interesting if the monologue didn't happen in the midst of like a critical hit. I also was not a fan of Armin in the beginning. I felt like cowardice and the weak and the like doubting himself and all that was just a little bit frustrating and overdone to the point that it made me a little bit angry and being like, why are you here kind of thing. And I think he thought that about himself, so it made me feel bad that I was thinking about him. But he was just not a help, and specifically in the instance where he's about to like watch all of his friends pass in front of him and like get eaten in front of him, and he just stands there and does nothing. I was like, come on, do something, even if it's to freaking run away. But I know there's like the fight, flight, or freeze, and apparently Armin is freeze. All this to say, if there was a Titan in front of me, who knows what the heck I would do. I'd probably be just like Armin. So I mean, who am I to judge? I mentioned something about like sub versus dub and like how there was something specifically in the dub that I didn't like. Again, I don't know if this is a sub dub thing or if it's a like scripting thing, but I feel like they really presented Mikasa and Eren as a brother-sister in the beginning, and then towards the end I never felt it from Eren or Mikasa themselves, but I feel like others really push a romantic type relationship on them, which was a little bit uncomfy, especially since they're like brother-sister, and I honestly don't even think that there needs to be a romance in this series, so I hope it doesn't turn into that in the future. But I felt like that was a little bit uncomfy. And the final thing I wasn't a huge fan of, it was like Mikasa being presented as like this overarching ability female. Don't get me wrong, I love Mikasa and her abilities. However, I felt like presenting her as such a capable soldier diminished the abilities of the other characters. I think even one of the characters says it. I think Jean maybe says it about Reiner when they're out in the field, and he's like, oh, I forgot, like, Mikasa's so good that I forgot Reiner is also really good. And I think some of these other characters got a little bit overshadowed when we could have seen like some really cool scenes with other characters, and it was just like all Mikasa doing everything. Also, her like central driving force is only to save Eren, and I wish that she had a little bit more of her own personality. Alright, let's talk some more spoilers. Eren was eaten. He has Titan abilities. I think that is so cool. I loved watching. I also loved that he is a main character that doesn't immediately know how to use his abilities. There are so many like action or superhero movies in which the protagonist immediately just is good with their abilities and there's no learning aspect to this power. They're just automatically good, and I love like training montages or learning about abilities or like specific weaknesses. I think that is what makes a character really cool. So I loved the aspect of like always reaching for a spoon and his hand turns and he can't at will specifically like bite on his hand and turn into a Titan. There has to be a driving motivation or a purpose, and just learning these nitty-gritty details about his ability is really cool, and I'd love to see more of that in future. I'd love to see Annie turn into like a good on their side soldier and teaching him the specific abilities that she has, like the hardening of the skin and the like more agileness and not losing like their sanity or their mind as they're within that body. I'd love to see him learn more of those abilities, whether that's with Annie or otherwise. Speaking of Annie, maybe I just didn't pay enough attention. I thought I was very invested, but I'm still very confused as to what Annie's motivation is or who she's working for or why she's doing things. And maybe that's just the way it's supposed to be in season 1 so that you'll watch season 2, but I felt very confused even though they showed like backstory about why Annie was a female Titan, or not even saying I have to know like how she became one, but like why is she against the humans? I'm very interested in this concept and this storyline. Speaking of backstories, Mikasa's backstory is super heart-wrenching, and I totally get why she's so attached to Eren. It makes sense, but I wish that wasn't her entire personality. And then finally, predictions for next season. I'd love to see obviously more of the Colossal Titan coming into play, whether that be through a final battle or like another wall breaking or just learning more about this Colossal Titan, because I do believe that the Colossal Titan and the Armored Titan are also being controlled somehow. That's my prediction, just because they're more intelligent, I guess you could say. Also love to see more about this key/cellar. They kept bringing it up and they kept showing the key, but I feel like they never actually made strides to get to said cellar and learn these things. And then just overall, I'd love to see like more character backstory. So that was my review of Attack on Titan. I hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know what your thoughts are on this series. Let me know if there's any other series I should watch based on how much I love this one. But yeah, this is the first episode of me on my Attack of Titan going ons. But I hope you guys enjoyed, and 9 out of 10, 10 out of 10, I don't even know. It's definitely one of my new favorite TV shows of all time. So kudos to Attack on Titan, kudos to all of the people that helped produce it, and thank you for watching. I'll see you in my next one. Bye, friends.